أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 238. حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Be watchful of your prayers, and especially the middle prayer, and stand in obedience to Allah. And then the following verse, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. And should you fear a danger, then pray on foot or mounted. And when you are safe, remember Allah as He taught you what you did not know. We are almost done with the verses about divorce and family matters. There are only two verses which will deal with this later after these two verses about Salat. And inshallah, when we come to those verses, I will mention why those two verses, which is continuation of the verses of Talaq, has been postponed to be mentioned after the verses about Salat. It actually bears a very important point, but inshallah I will mention later on. Now, here we have an instruction about how we can keep our relations better with people if we keep our relation good with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or if we want to be good with people, we have to have good relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. And if our relations with people are not good, we do not treat them justly, we do not treat them in accordance with decently, then it shows that our relation with God is not good as well, or it is very superficial. حافظوا على الصلوات. Be watchful of your prayers. Watchful means, of course, do them in their time, with all the conditions, with presence of heart. This is the meaning of hifaz and watchfulness over salawat. What's Salat al-Wusta? And the middle prayer. This is one of the most controversial concepts among the exegetes. What is the meaning of Salat al-Wusta? And why it is mentioned after the 5 daily prayers, Salat al-Wusta is also mentioned. However, before going to that, we know that the Prophet, peace be on him, said, As-salatu amududdin. The pillar of faith is Salat. And if a religion doesn't have this ritual of continuous and repetitive prayer daily, then it would not be able to keep that spirituality in the heart of the people. I just want to mention one anecdote from the life of the Prophet, in which he mentioned this sentence, La khayra fi dinin la salata fi. There is no benefit in a religion in which there is no salat, there is no prayer. After the Battle of Hunayn, when the Thaqif and Hawazin, the two very powerful tribes, they retreated to Ta'if and they went into their castles, and Prophet could not actually conquer those castles and return to Medina. After a few months, they decided to convert to Islam willingly. Willingly in the sense that they saw everyone has converted, now it's time for us to go and convert. So they came to the Prophet and they started to negotiate terms for Islam, something that, of course, the Prophet never accepted, negotiating terms to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, one of the terms was that we believe in you provided you let us continue worship Lot. Their great, of course, idol was Lot, as is mentioned in the Quran, أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ اللَّاتَ وَالْعُزَّى. So we continue worship Lot for 3 years, and we do not pray. The Prophet, the first thing, of course, the Prophet says, "La khayra fi dinin la salata fi." You want Islam without salat? It's not acceptable. I don't accept this. They said, okay, so what about worshipping Lot for 3 years? Then we worship Allah. He said, that's not acceptable. It's not something Islam does not accept, these partners for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And anyhow, at the end they said 1 year, and the Prophet did not accept. And eventually they agreed with the term that, okay, even if you want to break and destroy Lot, we don't do it ourselves. Send someone to do it. And the Prophet sent Imam Ali to do that. So the idea that we don't have time for this 5 days prayer, 5 days a time, 5 times a day praying, we don't have time for this. What's the purpose of it? Why should we do it? And Prophet was, of course, very adamant on that. So, حافظوا على الصلوات. Be watchful over these 5 daily prayers, and especially one among them, as-salatul wusta. Now, of course, this is mentioned because of its importance. Like, for example, من كان عدوا لله وملائكته وجبريل وميكال فإن الله عدو للكافرين. Whoever is an enemy of angels of Allah and Jibreel and Mikael, although they are angels as well, but they are mentioned specifically because, of course, their importance. However, the problem here is, what is as-salatul wusta? Which salat among the other prayers is salatul wusta? There are 2 famous opinions, one among the Sunnis and one among the Shias. The famous opinion among the Sunnis is that it's Salatul Asr. And of course they have justifications for it, because it is between the 2 salats in the day and the 2 salats in the night, Fajr and Noon and Maghrib and Isha. So it's Salatul Wusta. However, what has reached us from A'imma alayhimus salam in numerous narrations, that this is Salatul Dhuhr. It is in the middle of the day. And this was the salat that usually, at the time of the Prophet, they tended to miss, because they were working from the morning up till 1 hour before noon, which the heat was coming. They went home, and they were very lazy to come out for Salatul Dhuhr. And I will read the narrations for that. But it's not, these are famous opinions. These are not only opinions. Actually, all 5 prayers have been mentioned by some people to be Salatul Wusta. Because you can't justify why, for example, Salatul Fajr is Salatul Wusta, or why Salatul Maghrib is Salatul Wusta. However, as I said, we have narrations from A'imma that this is Salatul Dhuhr, and this is the time when, of course, the Awwabin would pray. You know, Nafilatul Dhuhr, the 8 rak'ah that we are advised to recite before Salatul Dhuhr, is called Salatul Awwabin, the salat of those who oft return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a time when, of course, certain things happen in the movement of the sun and the earth, as is mentioned in narration, in a sort of supernatural dimension of these things that prompts a person to, or prompts the angels to receive the prayers of the people in a better way. Of course, Salatul Awwabin, in Sunni narrations, Salatul Awwabin is a different salat. It's Salatul Dhuha, which is prayed mid-morning, about 2 hours before noon. And of course, in Shia opinion, it's bid'ah, and there is no such a salat. Like Salatul Tarawih, which is bid'ah, this Salatul Dhuha is bid'ah as well. Salatul Awwabin is the Nafilatul Dhuhr. Now, let's look at some of the narrations. First of all, Salatul Wusta doesn't, in in many exegetes don't say Salatul Wusta is middle Salat. They say it is Salatul Fuzla. Wusta means Fuzla, means the most meritorious Salat, the best Salat. Because Wasat also means Afdal. So Salatul Wusta means Salatul Fuzla, the Salat which is very much, lots of merit is attached to it. Now, the narrations here we have in Al-Kafi and in At-Tahzib from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, في الصلاة الوسطى قال هي صلاة الظهر وأول صلاة صلاها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. This was the first salat that Jibreel taught Prophet to pray. So when Jibreel came and taught the Prophet to pray, it was the time of Zuhr, and the first salat that the Prophet prayed was Salatul Zuhr. And this was before Bi'tha, according to many narrations, before the year 40. The Prophet was actually aware that he was going to become a prophet 3 years, or that he was Rasulullah, 3 years before the incident of Cave of Hira and revelation of the Quran. And during those 3 years, Jibreel came to the Prophet and taught him how to pray. So he was praying before the Quran was revealed to him. And this was the first salat which was instructed, the Prophet was instructed to pray. وَهِيَ وَسَطُ النَّهَارِ, and this is of course in the middle of the day. وَوَسَطُ الصَّلَاتَيْنِ بِالنَّهَارِ, and is in the middle of the 2 day prayers, Salatul Fajr and Salatul Asr. These are the day prayers, and Salatul Dhuhr is between them, so is Salatul Wusta. And also there's another hadith from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, قال الصلاة الوسطى هي الوسطى من صلاة النهار. It is the middle among the day prayers. وهي الظهر, of course it's the Dhuhr prayer. وإنما يحافظ أصحابنا على الزوال يحافظ أصحابنا على الزوال من أجلها. That is why our Shia are very careful to watch the zawal of the sun, so that they prayed on time, because Allah says that be watchful on that. There are, of course, Sunni opinions that this is Salatul Dhuhr. As I said, the famous opinion among the Sunni scholars is that it is asked, but there are many other narrations in Sunni riwayat that is Salatul Dhuhr as well. And Abu Hanifa believed that it was Salatul Zuhr. And one of the reasons they say that this should be Salatul Zuhr is the Sababun Nuzul, that the companions usually did not come for Salatul Zuhr. They went home, and in Salatul Zuhr only there was 1 or 2 lines behind the Prophet. And Prophet became a bit distraught about this, that the Salatul Dhuhr was not being attended by the companions. Zayd ibn Sabit reports that أن النبي كان يصلي بالحاجرة. Hajra is that middle of the heat of the day. He used to pray that time. وكانت أثقل الصلاة أثقل الصلوات على أصحابه. It was the most difficult prayer for his companions. فلا يكون وراءه إلا الصف أو الصفان. There was only 1 or 2 lines behind him. So Allah is actually advising that be watchful. These 5 times that I have mentioned for you are very important to be observed. Of course, Allah could have told us, pray them anytime you like during the day. However, the times are set. The only thing which has caused this difference between Shia and Sunni about the times of the prayers is that according to the Shia narrations, Salatul Isha and Salatul Maghrib, Salatul Isha and Salatul Asr are prayed after Maghrib and Dhuhr, and there is no specific time for it. Although we have some riwayat that the recommended time is to be some gap between them. However, A'imma alayhim salam in other places have said that there is no specific time for them. So Salatul Asr could be recited after Dhuhr, before Maghrib. Although, of course, the closer to the beginning of time is better. So the times set for these, especially for Salatul Fajr, for Salatul Dhuhr, and for Salatul Maghrib, are things that to be observed very meticulously. Inna Salat al-Fajr kana, inna Qur'an al-Fajr kana mashhuda, about Fajr. And Maghrib as well, we are told that the time of Maghrib is very short, and we have to, the beginning of the time, and we have to observe that. روي عن علي عليه السلام, and it's reported from Imam Ali alayhi salam, from the Prophet, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إن لله في السماء الدنيا حلقة تزول فيها الشمس. There is a ring in Sama'ud Dunya, which is a higher dimension of this world, which we don't know what it is, that when the sun passes the middle of the Nahar, it passes through that ring. فَإِذَا زَالَتِ الشَّمْسِ, when the sun passes through that, سَبَّحَ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ لِرَبِّنَا, everything in the world would praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their own tongue and language. فَأَمَرَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ بِالصَّلَاةِ فِي تِلْكَ السَّاعَةِ. That's why Allah has ordered that salat for us as well to be performed in that hour. وَهِيَ السَّاعَةُ الَّتِي تُفْتَحُ فِيهَا أَبْوَابُ السَّمَاءِ فَلَا تُغْلَقَ حَتَّى يُصَلَّى الظُّهْرُ وَيُسْتَجَابُ فِيهَا الدُّعَاء. And this is the hour in which the doors of the heavens, the doors which is somehow between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are opened, and it will not be closed until Zuhr is prayed and dua is accepted in that time. Now, this is mainly, of course, the riwayat in Shi'i literature about Salatul Wusta. As I said, the Sunnis have different views on that, mainly Salatul Asr, but they have mentioned other salawat as well. There is one view by Muhammad Abdu in the Tafsir al-Minar. Rashid Reza reports from Muhammad Abdu that he said, if it was not ijma' of Mufassirin, that Salatul Wusta refers to one salat, particular salat, among the five, then I would have said that all the salawat are Salatul Wusta. And it means that Hafidhu ala salawat was Salatul Wusta means as Salatul Fudla, the salat which has lots of merits. And it means that your salat, whatever you pray, whether in the morning or at noon, in the afternoon, should be Salatul Wusta, should be Fudla, should be the best quality that you perform it. It should be a salat with khushu and khudu, with attention of heart. This is the meaning of Salatul Wusta, which he mentions, and is a very good explanation. It means قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. However, it's a nice understanding if we didn't have these riwayat about Salatul Wusta being particularly Salatul Dhuhr. Anyhow, these are the views about Salatul Wusta. So we had the verses, حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Be careful how you stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's very important. You stand, because this standing before Allah is actually a sign of directing our attention to Him. And then ruku and sujud, which are the main things in salat, are showing our humbleness and humility. But قُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ means when you stand for Allah, be careful how you stand. Be qanit. And qanit means khushu', humbleness, humility, attention of the heart is the meaning of qanit, as it's mentioned in other narrations as well, in other verses of the Quran. And we know that, for example, one of the main qualities of Ibrahim alayhi salam, which is mentioned in Surah An-Nahl, among three qualities, the main one, the first one that Allah mentions is that he was qanit, that at all times he had this khushu and humility before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillah. Here it says, قُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. So be like Ibrahim. Of course, Ibrahim was like that in all his moments of life, of day and night. Kana Ibrahim ummatan qanitan lillah. Here, when you stand for prayer, حافظوا على الصلوات. Watch over yourself. Watch over your salat. Be careful that when you stand, have this qunut of the heart, which is of course very difficult to continuously having that. We know that in the salawat that we, the prayers that we do, most of the time we don't have this quality of qunut, this humility and khushu in our hearts. And that's why some of us say, why should we pray? Allah doesn't need it. Our prayers give no benefit to us. And sometimes people would say that, they put questions there. Why should we repeatedly doing these things? Although we do not have this qunut all the time, but if among all our prayers that we do, a few of them during the year, we have this qunut, it's enough for us. It's accepted that Allah will, inshallah, reward all other prayers with qunut, with this humbleness. As the Quran says, لِيَجْزِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنَ مَا عَمِلُوا. Allah rewards them the best acts that they did. So, for example, we perform how many thousands of salat during our lives, only a few of them have that qunut. Allah accepts all the thousands with that qunut. It's very generous, isn't it? You tried your best. You couldn't have that all your time, all your life, but in those hours, in those moments that you had it, I accept all like as that. It's like people who become old and forget things. They cannot perform their salat properly, or they go into absolute dementia or forgetfulness. In hadith we have that Allah will accept for them the rest of their life that they spend in that situation. Allah will write for them the amal that they used to do before, because now they cannot do it. They used to do before, for example, salat and fast in nice way. Allah would write it for them until the end of their life. Now, a few hadiths about this قُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. What is the meaning of qanit? In Tafsir al-Qummi, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, قال إقبال الرجل على صلاته ومحافظته حتى لا يلهيه ولا يشغله عنها شيء. What's the meaning of qanit? Qanitin? It means that a man turns to his salat with his heart. إقبال الصلاة إقبال الرجل على صلاته, and watching over himself so that nothing would divert him from the attending the salat, and no occupation of mind would take him away from it. And in other hadiths, قانتين مطيعين راغبين. This راغبين is very important. Raghib is someone who is inclined to something, turns to something. And therefore, when you stand to your salat, have this feeling that you really want to turn your heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. in Al-Kafi, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يزال الشيطان ذعرا من المؤمن ما حافظ على الصلوات الخمس. It's about حافظوا على الصلوات. Shaitan is always fearful from mu'min to get close to him. And this is what we have in the Quran. How إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. Salat would stop you from, prohibit you from fahsha and munkar. So is frightened from mu'min so long as they are watchful over the five time prayers. And if they فإذا ضيعهن تجرى عليه وأدخله في الإظام. If they abandon that and let them to be to go, then shaitan would find daring in itself, would dare to come and to whisper and take them into great sins. Just one more hadith, and there are lots of ahadith in this respect. And الصادق عليه السلام والصلاة قال الصلوات الخمس المفروضات. These five obligatory prayers من أقام حدودهن وحافظ على مواقيتهن. Anyone who keeps their limit in their qualities and is watchful over their time, لقلها يوم القيامة وله عنده أحد يدخله به الجنة. They meet Allah on the day of judgment and they have a written document in their hand that they just show it and enter into paradise. So they don't need anything, they don't need judgment or anything else. If they are watchful over their salawat, they have an ahd, they have a sort of pact between themselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a covenant that they show this and they enter paradise. However, the one who does pray but would not lam yaqum hududahun, do not keep their limits and do not observe the right quality, walam yuhafiz ala mawaqitihin, and is not very much observing the timing for it. Sometimes they do qaza, things like that. لَقَلَّهَا وَلَا أَهْدَ لَهُ. They meet Allah, but there is no covenant, there is no pact. Now, if Allah wishes, takes them to paradise. If not, will punish them. But with the salat performed properly and correctly and on time, there is this pact between you and Allah. You just show it, or you go into this what they call it, the fast queue, or what they call it. They have fast track. Go through the fast track. You don't need to go through this judgment and these things, those like that, by invitation. Okay, do you have this pact? Yes, you show it and you enter paradise, inshallah. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا. And should you fear a danger, then pray on foot or mounted. It means that, for example, if you are fearful, you are traveling. Of course, this happened in old days. It's different from Salatul Khawf in battle, because it's mentioned somewhere else. If you are, for example, fearful that the robbers may, the highway bandits may attack you, or there is a danger of animals or things like that, you don't need to stop and do your prayers. Just while you are traveling on the mount, or while you are walking with the caravan, you can pray like that. Nowadays, of course, for example, when we are in the plane and there is no space for us to pray, we can just make our wuzu, sit in our seats and pray there. It's not khawf, of course, it's not fear, but there is no other possibility to pray. And this shows that prayer in no circumstances can be abandoned. In no circumstances. Even if we are sick in our bed, if we are fearful of in our travel, our journey, or whatever. It's said in Laylatul Harrir, in the Battle of Siffin, especially the day and night. Laylatul Hariri was that night which the battle really raged during the day, and it went over the night up to the Fajr of the next day. And Imam Ali could not actually rest for a moment, and he did all his salawat while he was fighting, with just Imam pointing and just saying takbir and probably reciting in his heart. And on the day of Ahzab as well, the Prophet, they say that he did salat in that way. فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ, if the fear goes, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. So do your salat the way Allah has taught you. Do it as a thankfulness to Allah, gratefulness to Allah that He has taught you the way to Him, the way to get close to Him, to know Him, has guided your heart, that He has guided our hearts that we pray, isn't it? If He hadn't guided our hearts to Him, to Himself, we wouldn't have prayed. We wouldn't have known anything about Him. Imagine when you were in the, just a few years ago, I don't know how many years, some of you 25 years ago, some of you 50 years ago, some of you 70 years ago, or whatever. You were nothing at all. You had no awareness that there was a creation in this world, that there is something outside here. Then you were somehow formed gradually in the wombs of your mothers. We didn't know anything there about God, anything about the world. We came to this world. And gradually we realized that, yes, the beauties of the life, the beauties of the world. And gradually we realized, we became aware of something higher. Allah put a way for us to know Him. This is the guidance of the heart, isn't it? And then, as Allah has guided you, He wants to promote this awareness and guidance through prayers, through worship. So worship Allah as He has taught you, so that He has opened this way for you towards the Creator of this world. Most of us get preoccupied and absolutely engaged with the creation. We forget the Creator. We are fascinated by the wonders of creation. And then through science, through philosophy, through art, we want to experience this creation more and more. And that is the limit and the share of many people in this life. That's the share of many people. Their limit is creation. Nothing about that. ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُهُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ. That is the limit of their knowledge. However, for some, Allah has guided you above that. Allah has guided your heart towards the Creator of this creation, this wonderful beauty. Now, because of that, remember Him as a means for, as a way of thanking, and also a means to somehow promote this knowledge of Him. وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَيْهِ الطَّاهِرِينَ.
Thank you very much, Shukran, Sheikh. So we have about 15 minutes to clarify any points or further the discussion. Any brothers, sisters? Yep.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Before Jibreel taught Rasulullah Zohar, what prayers was he doing? Do we know that?
Well, he certainly was praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but not in this way. He didn't know about these prayers at all. So, but was supplicating, maybe some sort of sign of appreciation, thanksgiving. Certainly he didn't know these prayers.
But there were ritual prayers. For example, Ibrahim had them, Nabi Isa had them. And they say in the Bible, for example, Isa put his head on the ground and prayed.
Yeah.
Very similar to what we do.
Maybe the Prophet was doing that as well. We don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, but in this form, with Fatihatul Kitab, and so that's why they say the first revelation to the Prophet was Fatihatul Kitab, actually, before Allah came, and then again later on it was revealed to the Prophet. So in this form, standing, ruku and sujood, the Prophet didn't know about it.
Any sisters? No? Nisa? Oh.
It's interesting that you said that when the Prophet used to lead Dhuhr, that the attendance of the congregation was rather poor. We are quite familiar with that today as well.
Yeah.
But isn't it the fact that people are at that time either on the farm or at the workplace, and it's difficult, isn't it?
At that time?
Well, at that time, either in the farm or whatever.
No, they weren't, because usually the days were very hot. So they started right after Fajr, when the sun came up a little bit, and then they stopped about 1 hour before Zuhr and went home. So that's why it was difficult for them to come. They were not in their farms.
Okay.
Actually, Allah has somehow set the time between Fajr and noon for work. That's why there is no prayer there. And then we have noon, afternoon, Maghrib, Isha.
Doesn't work here though.
Yeah.
Doesn't work here though.
Yeah, we have to make it work anyhow.
Thank you. Any sisters? Any sisters? Any sisters? No, a doctor in the front.
Thank you very much, Samahat Shaykh. This last section of the last verse, كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ, it could bear another meaning, which is rather superficial, which is do the prayers like you were taught, i.e. Dhuhr, Asr, face Kaaba. How did you come to the conclusion that it means do prayers as gratitude because he has taught you what you have not, which is basically he has created you and created your conscience and mind? How do we go from one to the other?
Actually, that is one opinion, that كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. However, most of the exegetes have turned away from that opinion, because if that was meant, it should have been said, فَاذْكُرُوهُ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ. Remember him the way he taught you. But كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. All those things that you didn't know, Allah taught you. So many exegetes say that this kama means as a sign of thankfulness for the guidance that he has provided for you. That's the sort of majority opinion. We have that minority opinion as well.
Thank you. Any sisters? Any brother? Yes, Riaz?
Sheikh, in terms of praying on time, just picking up on Nizar's point, when we refer to praying on time in the sense of what we understand from this verse, is it a focus on praying at that fazilat time, or is it praying within the allowed time? What are we referring to there?
Yeah. Well, if you want to look at it from a fiqhi point of view, it's in the time limits. I mean, Allah has put this time frame because He knows that many people cannot pray just on time. It's not possible for everyone, and therefore there is this sort of relief or concession that, okay, if you cannot pray on time, pray in time. Maybe from fiqh point of view, praying in time is meant here, not praying on time. And in time means that you have gained the sawab and reward for it. However, on time has additional benefits because these times are set because of certain supernatural things that we don't know. For example, about Salatul Fajr, Allah says that وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ إِنَّ قُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ كَانَ مَشْهُودًا. The shift between the angels of the day and night changes during the Fajr, and both would witness. And that witness brings blessings to you in Fajr. So praying on time is much better, but praying in time is that hifaz that we have it.
Thank you.
Might be useful, and Sheikh, maybe you can help. I have come across a narration which said the mu'min who actually observes the sun and the time so that he can pray on time, and the exact words escape me, but it is a very useful verse which points to exactly this, that the mu'min is actually not only praying on time, but he was observing the passage of the sun or the appearance of Fajr or the disappearance of the sun before the time. So there is a state of preparedness and connectivity
Expectation.
in the universal sense. So that would actually put more light on.
Yes, but
what-
nowadays we know that most of us go according to timetable. We don't observe the sun and things like that. It's not possible for us.
But if we knew that, that's how we improve. Maybe if
How
we
we
can't
are
do it every day,
connected.
we can do it on the weekend or
Yeah.
sometimes, or look at the sunset or the sunrise. It is actually, it does something to the heart. That
It actually shows our connectedness to the whole solar system. That's very nice.
Thank you. Any sisters? Brother, yes, yes, Shiraz.
So in this country, when the timings are different, for example, Jamaat Namaz is recited in time. So what is more beneficial, to recite Furada in Fazilat or go for Jamaat later
No,
on?
Jama'ah is better. Jama'ah is always better.
they can repeat it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any sisters? Anybody sisters? Any sisters? Yeah? No. Yeah, yes, doctor. Yeah.
8 rak'ahs after adhan.
Yeah. As soon as the azan starts.
Most of the cases when you are attending a jama'ah, there is no time given to you to do these 8 rak'ah. I mean, the sheikh immediately passes into the iqamah.
Yeah.
So how you do it?
Usually, this happens between Zuhr and Asr. So for the Nafila of Asr, there's no time
Yeah.
for us. But for Zuhr, usually they start a bit later. I mean, 5-10 minutes after Azan. There is little time there. But anyhow, if the Jama'ah stands, it is makruh to do the Nafila. So you just join the Jama'ah and then you do it afterwards. After
Can you?
you can do it Mahfil Dhamma, yes. Mahfil Dhamma, you do it.
The Sunnis haven't got these 8 rak'ahs.
The Sunnis have different views about this. Some say 4, some say 6, some say 8. Yeah, they have different views on that.
Yes, and Aisha, she said, قالت عند الزوال كان الرسول يصلي عندي 4 ركعات.
Yeah, they have different things. But first of all, whether these ahadiths are really credible in the sense that they really, with a credible chain, reach to Aisha or not, whether she has said it or not, is a point of dispute. And secondly, whether, for example, Aisha understood what the Prophet was doing rightly. Maybe he rushed it, for example, to do the Zuhr and then do the others afterwards. What is told us by A'imma alayhimus salam, which we believe have the correct interpretation of Sunnah of the Prophet, is this: that Nawafil are 34 rak'ah, and they are between Zuhr. There's 8 rak'ah for Zuhr, 8 rak'ah for Asr before them, and then 4 after Maghrib, 2 which is regarded as 1 after Isha, 11 at night, and 2 for Fajr. Yeah.
Thank you. Any sisters? Yeah, Nizar.
So, Sheikh, just picking up on what Brother Hassan just mentioned, there are 2 other facts on there. At least these are facts that I have observed in my life, that our Ahl Sunnah brothers and sisters pray Salah on time much more diligently than my Shia brothers and sisters do. That's my observation, personal observations. Number 2, my second observation, which is unrelated, is the fact that whenever an Ahl Sunnah brother prays, he would try his best to pray in Jama'ah. He will pray and he will make sure 1 or 2 people join him immediately. Very unlike within the Shia community. There is a tendency to pray Furada, particularly if there is no established institutional Salah. So those are the two statements, and I want to comment on that. I want to ask a question on that. And I want to ask a question with great respect to you and the great respect to the people here as well, because some of them might feel hurt what I'm just about to say. But I really say it just for the sake of understanding. Why, and I'm asking you as a scholar, and by the way, as a doctor, I sometimes do criticize my fellow doctors in front of people when they ask me. So I want you, just because I'm close to you, I can ask you that directly. I want you to wear the hat of a critical hat within the scholars of Islam. Over the centuries, why has that ethos developed within the Shia world? Is it because the emphasis on non-wajibat, like ziyarah and azar and other things, has become so dominant that the cardinal importance of salah has really reduced in its importance? Is the problem at the scholar level? Is it the communication that has come from the institutions, scholastic institutions, to the mass that has been, over the centuries, really been weakened compared to our Sunni brothers?
Well, first thing I can say is that وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُم. Do not somehow decrease the merit of what others have. And this is a very good practice amongst Sunni brothers. It's something that should be commended and something that we should do as well. But unfortunately, historically, the development of sort of the way Shia community has developed has led to such a sort of individualistic attitude towards Salat. Now, the reason for this historically, I believe, although we have to rectify that, and this is no excuse for us, the reason historically is that the Shias did not want to attend jama'at of, for example, caliphs, people who drank alcohol during the night and came in the morning to do salat. And that's why they emphasized very much on adala of the imam. Now, the Sunnis didn't have this. The Sunnis, whoever stands in front and leads the prayer, you pray behind them. Now, this difference, of course, between Shia and Sunni caused many Shias historically to pray at home. They didn't go to mosque because they knew, for example, this imam has lots of blood on his hands or is collaborating with other zalimin, things like that. They didn't want to pray behind them. Now, we have narrations from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam advising and encouraging his followers to go and pray with Sunni brothers, although he knew that many of these imams were not, of course, just based on, according to Sharia criteria. But there was this reluctance that, for example, they knew that this man is swearing at every Shia, regarding every Shia to be kafir. How can I go and pray behind him, for example? So this has developed. Now that Shia has found this independent identity and has found this independence, because on those days there weren't such a thing, I think we have to somehow turn this tide and do our jama'ah. However, the fact that Imam should be adil is an important thing, and that's what deters many of us, for example, to, form jama'ah when there is no sheikh or something like that. But that has been taken into extreme as well. Adala, they say that when you see someone apparently is a good and abiding person, that's adala, that's enough. You don't need to investigate whether, for example, he doesn't commit sin at all or things like that. So you're absolutely right. We have shortcoming here, and we have to, inshallah, correct that.
Thank you. Thank you. Any sisters? Anybody sisters? Surprise?
Sheikh, I'd like to just correct me if I'm mistaken, but I recall you mentioning about the Nawafil a while back, that the Nawafil of Fajr and Zohar, and maybe Asr as well, can be said even before Adhan, a little while before.
No, not Zohar and Asr. It's Nafilatul Fajr that, for example, someone has finished Salatul Layl and there's still time for Fajr, they can continue doing Nafilatul Fajr. But when they wake up initially, and without doing Salatul Layl, they want to do Nafilatul Fajr, they have to wait for Adhan. That's the only thing. Otherwise, Zohar and Asr, no, they have to do it.
Any other brother or sisters? Anybody? Anybody? Yep.
Assalamu alaikum. Just a clarification. So if we have prayed the namaz at home on the fazilat time, and when we come and join the jama'ah, can we do the same niyat of wajibat, or can you do the qaza niyat?
You can do qaza niyat if you have qaza, but you can just say, I do salatul zuhr without saying as a repeat or anything like that. You have that intention of repeating. You just say you are doing, for example, salatul zuhr or salatul maghrib.
Okay, and following on from there, if I feel that I recited namaz and I felt that I didn't connect properly, can I repeat the prayer with the same wajib niyat?
You can. It's usually not good to repeat a prayer because then people become obsessed with whether I did say things right or things like. But yes, you can do that. I mean, theoretically you can do that, but it's not good to repeat salat.
Thank you. Any brothers, sisters? Anybody? Yeah.
2 points, Sheikh, if you don't mind. It's not working. Okay, thank you. 2 points, Sheikh, if you don't mind. As a Shia, I think we've got certain understanding of being flexible in terms of understanding of the Islam and the Quran. And we do go into detail of that understanding a lot more, I believe, than our brothers and sisters Sunnis. And I think that is embedded in us. That's how I felt and that's how I've been raised. That we do have a true understanding of the Islam as opposed to just follow the Islam because certain person said so and so and so, which is following on what Dr. Nazar has said. So that was my first point. And I think I'm right in making that assumption and that assertion.
So what do you mean by flexible?
What I mean is that we're not as rigid as other Sunnis in following certain aspects because we can explain it because we believe that God has brought in religion and Islam for humanity to help them as opposed to punish them. So anything that is not impossible, it's not doable. مَا كَلَّفَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وَسْعَهَا. And therefore there are flexibility. Therefore we do not kill because Quran said we gotta kill. There is no such a thing. But some Sunnis, unfortunately, they do have that kind of attitude. And that is, I have experienced that. The other comments that I'd like to make, especially in this country actually, working all day long, meetings from the morning until the evening. Sometimes I don't have time to pray. And sometimes I do try to cheat on myself to get that 15, 20 minutes to escape from that meeting to go and do the prayers. Other times I cannot do it. So I do try to recite it while I'm sitting in that meeting, knowing full well that this is not the salah as we said, and I have to repeat that salah when I go there. My question is that allowed? Is that, if you like, acceptable to a degree? I've got a couple of things in my head. One says, yes, it could be, and the other one, which I'm not so sure, and that's why I'm asking the question. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. But in this situation, no, it's not allowed to say it while you are sitting or working, things like that. That when khiftum farijalan aw rukbana is for very, of course, special cases. I think as Muslims, people know that we have to pray. And we have to somehow in our meetings, in our workplace, make the arrangements. That, for example, if we go to a meeting, the people who come to that meeting know that I have at a certain time to go and spend 10 minutes praying and come back. I think it is easy and people understand that. The point is, sometimes we feel embarrassed to tell them. We feel embarrassed to tell that we have to go and pray. While nowadays, of course, this is a commonplace knowledge. Everyone knows that Muslims should pray at certain times, and you can mention that and go and pray. So that prayer is not acceptable. And the qadha of it, of course, it means that you have somehow neglected the law of God and neglected the time of the prayer. And although the qadha, the makeup is wajib, but it doesn't cover up for the sort of disobedience which has happened there.
Thank you. Any other brothers, sisters? Last one. Yep.
Assalamu alaikum. My question relates to when you mentioned how you should have attention of the heart whilst you're praying. How do we cultivate attention of the heart versus just attention of the mind? And how do we distinguish that it's actually from the heart? Because it's easy to well, not easy, but you can still at least be aware of trying to focus on your praying. But often when we look in the Quran and things talk about the heart rather than the mind, and I'm always curious about how do we understand that distinction. And
attention of the mind actually puts your mind to what you are doing. Like, for example, you are solving a maths question, you have attention of mind. You are praying, you have attention of mind, that what you say is correct. What does it mean? You are trying to somehow divert your attention from other things to salah. Attention of heart breaks you, you know. It brings that sort of feeling. Attention of heart is not knowing, it's feeling. So that feeling doesn't come all the time. That feeling is the sort of the cream of the salats. That's if you can have that feeling, which brings tears to the eyes, which makes you, even if not tears, makes you really humble before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And usually, of course, attention of mind is necessary for that attention of heart. Without attention of mind, attention of heart wouldn't come as well. So they are very different from each other. One is feeling, the other one is paying attention.
Thank you. Very last one. Yes.
Did I hear you correctly saying that namaz-e-tarawih is not allowed from the Shia? So in Ramadan, when you are in Hajj, yeah, so you are in Haram doing the when tarawih is recited, what do you do then?
You leave.
You leave the Haram, yeah?
Or you can just do other prayers. You can do mustahab prayer. You can do salatul hajj or whatever. You better not do that in jama'ah. Anyhow, because we believe that it's a bid'ah. We know that Imam Ali tried to stop it, but the ashab or the people at that time were very strict in what the second caliph had actually ordained. They did not accept. But it's strictly good that we do not join Salatul Tarawih.
Okay, Shaykh, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, sure.
I prayed my salah on the plane.
Sorry, yeah, okay.
Sitting down. Do I have to repeat?
No.
From the sister side, there is.
Assalamu alaikum. I've been caught in a couple of situations that I have the intention to pray with the Sunni sisters and brothers, and suddenly in the first rakat, they start with a surah which is not a complete surah. How do I deal with that straight away?
It doesn't matter, because they are doing it according to their fiqh, according to their own rulings, and whatever they do according to their own rulings is correct for them, and when we join them in salat, it's fine, we can just follow.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Once you gave me the answer, two people told me, are you sure? So can I repeat my question? I want you to repeat it.
Yeah.
If I pray my salah on the plane, and I don't know facility to pray properly, so I'm praying but sitting down with the shower. When I come home,
You don't need to repeat it. You have done your salat, yes, according to your duty. Yeah.
The last one from.
We have many last time one questions.
I'm very sorry about this, Sheikh, but it's just a follow-up from what Nizar was saying. Quite often, we might be on a shorter journey, or the timing of the journey is such that you would probably reach your destination where there is still time to recite the salah. Is it better to recite it as soon as you are on your conveyance, whether it's a bus or a plane or whatever, and recite it there at the appropriate time, or wait until you get to your destination?
If you know that you will arrive when still there is time, you cannot pray it on the plane. You have to wait and do it properly. But if you don't know, or if you are not sure, or if you know that you would not arrive in time, then you can pray it that time.
Yes. Quite often there is a circumstance where you may actually reach the destination in time, but there may not be a facility for you to pray. For example, if you've landed at the airport and there is, you're queuing up for immigration, there's no opportunity to pray, would you be better off praying on the plane? Or you might miss the time altogether.
Usually I have a compass with me, and as soon as we get off the plane somewhere, just we do our prayers. This is, of course, something that we have to observe. I mean, we have a compass all the time with us. So, especially for those who travel a lot. And as soon as they get off the plane, and there is still, for example, half an hour, 20 minutes to the time, they just pray where they are.
Thank you, Hassan. This is the now. Okay, this is all finished. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.